Hi, hello, welcome, Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has that hotline. If you'd like to be part of the program, it's your opportunity to be a voice. It is Friday Eve already as January flew by. Already second day of February. All right, a lot of stuff out there. UC Berkeley burning down because of a speaker. By the way, I don't care if they burn the whole dang thing down, as far as I'm concerned. These people, I'm telling you, folks, there it is right there, rioters at UC Berkeley. Because of somebody coming in and give speech. See, the left never wants free speech, ever. Their speech, their way, their marriage, their definition of marriage, their everything, lunatics, Looney Tunes, burning down Berkeley. And by the way, the 500-seat event was sold out for Milo or Breitbart. Sold out. And I don't care if they burn the whole place down. I just think that what government needs to do is, okay, you burn it down, y'all rebuild it. We're not gonna do it again. I wouldn't even rebuild one thing for them. When they burn down Walmarts and all that stuff, if I was businesses, I'd just leave those areas. If they have that much ignorance and that much time, let them build them themselves. Sound like they got a lot of free time. Maybe they can do a little work. Most of them don't have jobs anyway. It's incredible. Just for a speaker. Just for a speaker. Anyway, we got that. Todd Starnes weighs in on that, which is a pretty good deal. Joe Biden weighs in back when George Bush, number one, H. Bush, during the election year, if a Supreme Court justice came open during the presidential year, he said, oh, no, we can't vote on that. Shootings in Democrat-run New Orleans over 100% higher than in 2016 already. Mitch Landrieu slamming Jeff Landry. Also, Jim Beam has officially fallen off the cliff to the left, just writing a bunch of mush. It's a shame what Beam puts out over in Lake Charles for the people in the fine area like that. Just have to read that and believe that's true. Beam, once again, I think he does belong in the political Hall of Shame. Because, my God, his writing now is so far to the left, and his take-up with Jay Darden and the Democrat John Bel Edwards with not enough facts, but as usual, I'll give them to you. All right, 844-766-6607. It's the Hickson Has It hotline. Before I get to all this has little to do about nothing, except I want to talk about it very shortly. Headlines, Glenn Guilbeau, had the big national recruiting signing day yesterday. LSU had a great class. Looks like Coach O did a really good job. They missed on some kids, but everybody misses on kids. But the obsession with the press and obsession with the LSU fans of Nick Saban starting to make me puke. Let him go, folks. LSU had him. He's gone. And Guilbeau writes, time to build a wall around Louisiana, make Saban pay. Come on, man. Why the obsession? Why the hate? Why not just keep building your football program? I really got to the point now, this is sycophants that worry about Nick Saban in Alabama. You got a 12-game football schedule. Could be as many as 14 or 15, depending on how good you are. And all they do is worry about Nick Saban. And all they do is worry about Alabama. I'm almost convinced now with some of the Tiger fans, they would rather be 1-11 as long as they beat Alabama than go 11-1, lose to Alabama, but have a chance to win a national championship and an SEC championship. I'm tired of reading about Nick Saban. Now, I think Saban's a heck of a football guy, heck of a football coach. He'd have stayed at LSU. No doubt LSU would have won a bunch more national championships. No doubt, but he's not. And he's probably not coming back. I'm ready for Nick Saban to retire so that these people in the press and some of these fans, my Lord. We got LSU, you got all these other universities here, but I'm talking about the top elite. LSU is one of the elite programs, and LSU, they're writing about Nick Saban. They're writing about, because he got 6 kids from here. And actually, three of them weren't here. They were here. They went to a prep school in another state and ended up back at Alabama. I just don't understand why is everybody so tied in to worried about Alabama and Nick Saban, your whole football team. If you can win that one game, I wish they could win the game next year and get this over with. Nick Saban doesn't win it every year. Did he win it this year, Brandon? Did he win it the year before last?
Year before last, yeah.
No, he won it last year. No,
I
said this year's a game that was played this year. The year before that he won. The year before that he didn't win. What I'm saying, he's not winning it every year. Nobody's going to ever win it every year. Okay? That don't mean you don't have the best team. It just means you didn't win it that year. But Brandon, I know you're picking up the paper. You're a sports guy. I'm tired of seeing this. I mean,
I don't even read that stuff.
But
I don't even let it bother me like it's getting to you right now.
Well, what's getting to me is not the article Alabama. What's getting to me is the sycophants that can't let Nick Saban go. Worried about Saban. Worried about your own team. I mean, I'm telling you, there are people out there. I'm just telling you, they went 1-11. 1-11. I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
But if they go 8-4 or 9-3, and they beat Saban, it's the greatest year ever. I'm telling you, that's the wrong way to look at it. Let him go. You can't defend him. You can't do anything against him. All you can do is beat him on a Saturday night, probably once a year.
I'm not defending the mindset that you're going against, but you got to admit these are circumstances that are a little bit different. Okay, it's one thing that it's Alabama. We know the rivalry there, but the fact that it's Nick Saban, who used to be at LSU, that is coming into Louisiana and getting these recruits. He used to be a part of LSU. Like there's something
got
to
LSU.
it. And when you are getting beat, not just on the football field, but in recruiting in your own home state. I mean, it's a little bit different circumstances.
Let me disagree with you a little bit, okay? Just for the sake of disagreeing with you. Orgeron had a hell of a recruiting class. Orgeron, they ended up 7th if you look at that. Now, I'm like my Stevie P. I don't really care where they ranked it. They really ought to judge the recruiting class 4 years later. That we ought to be talking about, this is 2017, we ought to be talking about the 2013 class. Okay, who did what, who got who did well. Really, this early recruit don't mean anything.
Right.
Alabama has the number 1 recruiting class. Does that mean they win the national championship next year? Nope. Did Clemson have the number 1 recruiting class last year, the year before? Nope. So my point being is Brandon, I'm trying not to watch it, but I do follow sports. And I'm going, why? And I walk out in the community. Not Lafayette, I'm talking about in the state. And I talk to people when they talk fall and LSU football comes around, everybody gets stuff. And everything's Alabama, I hate Alabama, I hate Nick, I hate him. And I go, really? Your whole life is based off of liking or hating Nick Saban?
Well,
I'm sorry. 6 players. Orgeron got 21 players, and out of all the ones he got in the state, he got some of the best kids. He really did. And so he lost a few, no doubt. But Alabama lost a few to Auburn. I mean, I guarantee. You think Nick Saban went after 25 kids and got the 25 he wanted? I guarantee you he lost some kids. Mm-hmm. He had to. You don't get them all. I saw with some of these top 100 or top 50 players who had LSU or Alabama on the list went to another school. One of them went to Tennessee. I don't know. I just think.
And then to make matters worse, the gray shirts. Like top prospects that say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and gray shirt and sit out this football
tell people
year
what the gray
to be
shirt
able to
is.
get to play at Alabama again later.
Tell them what the gray shirt is. You come in with it.
You come in after the fall semester, so you don't have to take any classes for that fall semester, and basically, you go past the football season and you start in the spring of the next year. So
you got your 4 years.
You got a class that's jam packed like Alabama. You can come in, and be basically you can graduate a year later.
Okay.
It's like redshirting, except you're not going to be a part of the team in the fall.
Okay. But I just wish for my friends, we all pull for LSU, we all want LSU to win the national championship. I just wish there was a way, so what? Nick Saban, so what? By the way, Secretary Rex Tillerson's speech at the State Department is getting ready to go on. He has been confirmed. All the other ones are going to be confirmed, too. Democrats are really nutting up. We'll get to that later in the program. But it's just amazing to watch. I just don't think on National Signing Day we should be writing articles about Nick Saban came in and took 6. I just don't. Why don't you celebrate what you got?
But, Moon, you're illustrating why he's writing that article. It's got people talking.
Oh, it does. It does. It got me talking bad about what they're writing about.
They don't care what they say about bad press.
I know, and they got me talking about LSU fans and I'm just talking about the ones that are sycophants over Nick Saban in Alabama. And talked to my brother at a plant.
Uh-huh.
He works in the Baton Rouge area, and he calls me and goes, man, he said, all these people, it's all they talk about. And I just tell him, beat him. Then go beat him. Just beat the hell out of him. Beat him on the field. Eventually LSU's going to start beating Alabama again. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen while Saban's there. Trust me. Next year, LSU, if I don't know what LSU's going to have, I'll sit back. I'm just a fan. I'm not Gordy Rush. I don't know the ins and outs of things. Okay, I don't. But my point being is, I'm going to sit back and watch the games, and I like watching LSU play and all that stuff, and I don't miss hardly nothing when they play. But I'm not sitting there going, man, I can't wait till we play Alabama. Oh, man, we got to play Alabama. Oh, we got to go to Alabama next year.
Yeah, but you wouldn't define yourself as a diehard LSU fan.
I'm not
either.
the diehard like people that bleed purple and gold. No, but I'm not anybody.
And you make that comment
But I'm not anybody. I'm not anybody. I'm diehard except my alma mater.
And you make that comment about, well, one day LSU is going to beat Alabama and it's going to flip, even with Saban there. You're assuming two things, though. You're assuming Nick Saban somehow gets off of this amazing run that he's been on of gathering recruits and being national title contenders every year, and you're assuming that Ed Ogeron is going to work out as head coach.
No, I understand. Great point. But my assumption is LSU's always been a top 10, all the way to number 1, 10, wherever you want to do it. And my assumption is that rivalry is still a good rivalry. And here's my big point. LSU signs just about the same quality athlete that Alabama does. You saw Alabama's offense go against LSU's defense. LSU's defense looked every bit as impressive as Alabama's when they played. And at the end of the year, Alabama's defense was no better than LSU's defense, and Alabama was good. So my point being is I think they sign in similar 4-star and 5-star kids. I think LSU got 2 or 3 5-stars this time. Alabama, I think, got 5. My point being is they're good enough to compete. They only lost 10-0 last year. They're there, Brandon. They're there now.
And I get all that, but look at it from the LSU fan point of view, looking at the fact that, yeah, they lost 10-0, but they couldn't even score on Alabama. That's an aspect. And when you look at it, is there any end in sight with Nick Saban, the dominance they're having, and with LSU? This streak just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
The run Saban's on, we've never seen it. You got to remember, Clemson played them. They didn't have a problem with them. I mean, what I'm saying is these teams gear up to play Alabama. Alabama can't gear up every weekend. But Alabama, best thing next year is they do get beat by LSU and get that mantle off, and LSU moves on. But if LSU could beat them and beat everybody else, if LSU loses to them and beats everybody else, they still got a shot.
Okay, but like you said, Alabama doesn't get up for everybody else, but wouldn't you say they get up for LSU?
Yeah, they're gonna play it, but LSU gets up for Alabama.
Yeah.
I just think it's crazy. On the day after the signing day, and you're celebrating all the new kids, we're focusing on Nick Saban.
That's why I don't read that stuff.
I'm not a sports guy in that aspect. It's just crazy. Anyway, your comments are welcome. Your non-comments are welcome too. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon. Hi, hello. Welcome back. ESPN Radio, Moon Griffon. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. I like to dabble a little bit. All right. Berkeley burns because of ignorance because they protest the speaker. Can you imagine? You got to be paid to do that. Who would think, you know what, we want to protest the speaker, and if they don't like it, we just burn stuff down. I got to believe people are paid to do this. Then they start burning their campus. And I'm thinking, if I'm ahead of that campus and that state, I'm not rebuilding any of that. Man, you get it on film of all the people that did that and make them pay for it. They're not going to do that, though. Be liberals. They'll be saying, well, we ain't got enough money to build the building back. If I was an insurance company, I'd say, I'm not going to pay. Think about it, Brandon. If I burn my house down and they find out I burned my house down, do you think the insurance is going to pay to rebuild my house? No. And an insurance company said, we're not touching that. But that's liberals. See, they don't want free speech. They want total dominance of speech. Like, they'll tell me I got to believe there's many days to get married. I believe there's one traditional way that God sent. There's one way. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what state laws make up. There's a marriage between a man and a woman. I don't believe a man can wake up and feel like a woman go in a girl's bathroom. I never will. Never, ever can. You can convince me of that because it's not true. You know, abortion is slaughtering of innocent children. They're innocent. But these people are sick. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of sick people in the world. We're not as churched as we used to be. We don't have the family values that mean a lot to a lot of people. Don't mean nothing to these people. And so they just don't care. Now, here's Todd Storms, and I'm hoping this won't freeze on us, but if it doesn't, here's Todd Storms dealing with what happened in Berkeley last night.
Ladies, and what happened at the University of California, Berkeley last night should enrage the nation. Hundreds of liberals rioted on campus, burning stores, smashing windows, clashing with police. The rampaging mob even forced the university to shut down a speech by conservative firebrand Milo Yiannopoulos. But it did not seem to satisfy the crowd's bloodlust. They set an American flag on fire, attacked pro-Trump students, causing significant damage to the Martin Luther King Jr. Student Union. The birthplace of free speech became its graveyard. So here's what needs to happen. President Trump should immediately issue an executive order blocking Berkeley students from receiving any federal funding. Same goes for any other public university that wants to silence conservative voices. Free speech for all or no federal money. Not a single taxpayer penny, period. Ironically, the liberals silenced a gay British man and vandalized a building named after a civil rights legend. Who knew there were so many homophobic, racist xenophobes at UC Berkeley? Back to you, ladies.
Todd Starr on Fox News, right on the money, 100% grand salami right there, folks.
And by the way, he wasn't calling us ladies. He was talking to a couple ladies at Fox News.
Well, I know he was. I knew he wasn't talking to me. Now, you got to answer you for yourself.
No, whatever.
No, but the thing about it, he was right on the money. They are so nutting up over free speech. They even burned down part of the Martin Luther King building. I mean, that's what happens when you get out of control, immoral people doing what they do, and that's what they're doing. And we honor that. We think that's good. That's not good. You don't hear anybody from the Democrat or the left complaining about it.
I do wonder how much of those students last night were actually students at Cal Berkeley, because a lot of those protesters, as was reported last night on Fox News, were bussed in. Which is not a surprise to anybody that's been following these protests.
Granted, it is bussed in, but if you realize if you had all the press reporting that, naming who bussed them in, you could really fine tune this. And Brandon, by the way, I thought it was against the law to start a riot.
Yeah.
So if it's against the law and George Soros or somebody's paying for this, shouldn't they be arrested? People should be arrested for this. They ought to take a picture of everybody doing this and arrest them and make them pay for it. I don't think the government or the taxpayers ought to pay one penny for this ignorance. And it was all about a guy coming to speak that wouldn't to the left. They don't want free speech, folks. Joe Biden don't want free speech. Obama doesn't want free speech. They want to tell you what you can say and not say. Your comments are welcome. Let them burn it down, I say. Burn it all the way down to the ground. When they burn a section of the community for no reason, there should be no way to be rebuilt. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Got an open line for you. We'll be right back. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline if you'd like to be part of the program. Let's go to Mike on the road. Mike, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Moon. Thank you for taking my call today. I'd like to just say a great thank you to Mr. Jeff Landry. Now I see why Bill Edwards wanted to run for a public office. Thank you, Mr. Landry, for beating him like a yard dog twice in court the way he did. I think that was great.
Oh, yeah, they pounding Jeff every day in the press. They had an article today. Jeff Landry and Mitch Landrieu agree on one thing, that they don't agree on much. Well, that puts Jeff Landry jumps way up in my book when you start talking about not agreeing with the Landrieux, because if you agree with the Landrieux, we would have to vote Jeff out. So when I saw the headlines, I kind of laughed at it, and then they go in there with Mitch Landrieu. He's calling Mr. Landry an ignorant person who seemed not to understand the simplest of legal principles.
That's Jim Beam calling him that?
No. This is Mitch Landry.
Oh, it is Landrieu. Okay.
This is Mitch Landry. This was actually Julia O'Donnell of the NOLA.com who wrote this. And they constantly pick on Jeff and beat on Jeff because they're trying to protect the one-term governor, Bill Edwards. And the one-term governor, Bill Edwards, is going to be a one-term governor just from his stance on the tax part, his liberal stance on the social issues. He's going to be a one-term guy.
Well, if I was an honor code governor and my attorney general beat me like a redheaded stepchild, I think I would resign. But on this rioting in California, if George Soros is funding all of this stuff, is he an American citizen? If not, why isn't he trying to be convicted? Why aren't we convicting him?
No, I agree with that. I mean, when you start a riot like they're doing, and they've done this in several places. They did it with Michael Brown or Black Lives Matter, and they were funding all this. I mean, when you're starting a riot, you should have to pay the price in the court system. So I think you're right about that. Anyway, I got to run. Appreciate the call. You're right. Let's go to Bob in Lafayette. Bob, how you doing?
I was just going to talk about that. That's one of the topics I just.
What is that?
George Soros.
He's all over the place. Matter of fact, I'm reading articles. He's doing all this stuff in the Europe and other places as well. Just got a lot of money and he's blowing it out there.
Well, I'm going to Google and try to find out where this guy lives because, I'm not going to do anything in that regards. But if this guy is a United States citizen or wherever he's living, and if he's funding, these aren't protesters; these are rioters, and
absolutely,
these people are destroying property in the United States of America. And I'm wondering if he has any assets in this country. And if he does, isn't it time to seize those assets?
I think that if Soros overplays, and he has overplayed it, with President Trump, his attorney general and them could do something about this. And they should. And by the way, Soros is a big liberal, leftist, socialist, Marxist, communist Democrat. That's who he is. He's bad for everybody.
Well, and if it's all true that he is funding through a lot of these liberal left wing organizations, if he's funding any part of these riots in any part, and I'm looking last night, and I'm looking this morning, and I'm watching all these riots take place, and I'm saying to myself, where in the hell are the police?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
good point.
They're talking about stopping the funding of any kind of federal funding at Berkeley. Well, you know what? We're going to stop any kind of federal funding with these damn police departments that fail to do their damn jobs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way.
How many arrests were made last night? How many arrests were made?
I don't know. I didn't. Listen, I'm not saying they weren't any because I don't read every single thing, but it's no doubt that they're not doing their job as the riots are going on. I think the deal is now they just kind of kick back and let the riots happen and then come in and do the cleanup.
Well, and you know what the thing is? If they're gonna take that approach, guess what? It ain't gonna stop, because once they start seeing that the police or the National Guard or whoever is not going to take any crap, guess what? This stuff will slow down. This stuff will stop. But if they continue to empower themselves by not being confronted, by not being arrested, by not being stopped, this is going to continue.
Oh, I think I predicted it yesterday. I'll say it again. I don't want it to happen. I just think the left is unhinged. The morality of the left is so far left, there's no morality anymore. And so they don't care. Lie, steal, cheat, hurt, go as far as killing. They just don't care as long as they're making their point.
Well, there is no more Democrat Party. You can forget about that.
I'm hoping. Here's what I'm hoping. And we were talking about this earlier, me and Brandon. I don't know if it was Mr. David or somebody was in there with us. And my comment was, Brandon's welcome to speak for himself, was that there's a group of people that kind of sit on the fence, and sometimes they vote Republican, they vote Democrat, and maybe a lot of times they vote Democrat. But they do sit back and try to think through. If they can't see this, and I'm hoping they'll start seeing this, and that group will start going, these leftist Democrats, I just don't associate with that filth and trash anymore, and they'll just start voting the other way, and we'll put them out of business. That's what I'm hoping. And I believe some of them, I believe some of them are white, black, and brown. And I believe they'll start going, you know what, I want nothing to do with that trash I'm watching. Look, I watched Obama for 8 years literally destroy us. Okay? And I didn't watch no protests and people getting shot, and when speakers would come in, people would go nuts. That's not what we do. They do it because that's all they got.
Wait a minute. You didn't see all the conservative and the Republican and
especially
the Tea Party riots?
Oh, man, the Tea Party and especially Christians, real Christians, they were out there just blowing everything up, weren't they? Anyway, got to run. I think you make a good point. Appreciate the call. Let's move on.
Answer
Yes,
answer a question before we go to the next caller.
No,
because they brought it up a couple.
I'm hungry. Go ahead.
Because our last two callers have brought it up. George Soros is a U.S. citizen. Looking at this on Forbes, as a matter of fact, because they have him listed in their top.
I never know because I don't follow him. I just know he's evil and I follow what he does.
He's listed in their top billionaires and such. And as a matter of fact, did you know Soros is actually 86 years old? I didn't know he was that old.
He had passed his life expectancy, and that's a good thing. That's because of what he's doing.
Yeah, but you don't think he's got people underneath him that are ready to...
Oh, yeah. He got some leftist ignorance, and no doubt about it. By the way, Pruitt, who's getting ready to be confirmed with the EPA, who's not a man-made global warming quack, the Democrats didn't show up for the conference committee, so the Republicans are going to vote him out. He's going to go to the floor, and he's going to win again.
Well, they're just making it easy then, huh?
They showing bad sportsmanship. They're showing a losing attitude. They're showing that they don't give a dang about this country. Brandon, I'm telling you, people are watching this. We got elections in 2 years. I think Democrats, if people watch what they're going to do, they get blown out again, and maybe
they're going to make themselves a minority party. If you
maybe the Republican picks up the 8 seats they need in the Senate. Think about that, because there's a bunch of them up for re-election, and if people are waking up, like I'm told you, black, brown, and white, and they're sitting there going, I used to kind of really vote for the Democrat, but I'm going to tell you, I can't vote for crazy anymore, because you're dealing with total nutting up and crazy. I mean, Obama got his Supreme Court job. By the way, we got Joe Biden on the Supreme Court when we get back. Chris in Lake Charles. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, Moon. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
This is not why I called, but you were making the comment about how a lot of people hopefully will wake up about being Democrats. I remember back in the 90s.
Voting Democrat more than anything else. I don't worry about being Democrat, just voting that way.
Yeah. Well, I used to argue with my dad, my uncles, and all them. They were the old holdover blue-collar Democrats, and they're all Republicans now, So people have woken up. A lot of people have woken up and realized that the Democratic Party of today is not the Democratic Party of the 50s and 60s. It's a totally different party.
The Democrat
They've
Party
been taken over from within by the communists. They're the Communist Party of America.
Yeah, Democrat Party of today is nothing like your daddy and your grandparents. It's not even close. It is a radical leftist. It is a radical leftist, anti-American, anti-Constitution, anti-Jesus Christ party. That's what that party is now.
Totally.
Now, people can say, well,
exactly.
I go to church with you, and that's the way I vote. You got the problem. I don't, because I'm not voting for that.
Yeah.
Republicans just Republicans just screw up sometimes. They just absolutely are cowards sometimes. And that's the problem with the Republican Party. Cowards sometimes.
I don't know how any Christian can vote Democrat. I'll just be honest with you. How can you vote for a party that believes in everything that's against God?
Everything.
But everything. The reason why I was calling in is, the riots out in Berkeley show you really who these people really are. And to tell you the truth, the only reason why they work through the democratic system and voting and running for office is to get power. And if they ever fully get in power, you better believe they will take the vote away from us. Yeah. They don't really believe in that.
Okay. You're breaking up on me, brother, but great call. We got to go. Take a break. You're listening. By the way, hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show, 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Senate committee approves EPA chief nominee without the Democrats. They don't even show up. They're so big and they're so tough. It's. What do you think these people in Congress get paid to do? They get paid to vote. So you're a Democrat and you pumped up that you're a big, tough man, didn't go vote. I mean, this is becoming a joke. And I'm telling you, people that go back and forth, they maybe vote Democrat most of the time. Every now and then they vote for Republican. I'm telling you, you're probably a smart person. You sit back, you make a good living and all that. I believe you have the brain power to look what are these people doing? When did the Republicans not show up for one of Barack Obama's czar vote? Well, never come to think of it, he didn't have no czar votes. They wouldn't let him vote on the czars. They voted all as a pity people in. Republicans went right there to the committees. Republicans asked questions. Republicans, some of them voted for them. Maybe Hillary didn't win, so we quit. We're just not showing up. Now, the thing about it is they had to vote. And the guy passed, and he's going to pass the Senate now with 56, 58 votes, whatever it is. There's a few Democrats that voted for Tillerson. I think he got 56 votes, 56 or 57. So what's the purpose of doing it? What are you proving by not going vote? I'm telling y'all, people are watching this. And I got to believe all the people that voted for Trump and millions more that didn't either vote or voted for Hillary are going to change their mind when they keep watching what the Democrats are doing to themselves. Childish behavior for people in their 50s and 60s, and just total childish behavior. By the way, the new Supreme Court nominee, he's making his rounds, and it's kind of funny. He's making his rounds, and he's going to see everybody, all the Republicans, all the Democrats. They make the round, they visit with every one of them. Now, don't you think it's funny if you walked into Chuck Schumer's office? Okay, let me get you in. If the Supreme Court nominee walks into Chuck Schumer's office, you know what he can tell him? Shake his hand and say, hey, I hope I can count on your support again.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago in the 109th Congress, Barack Obama voted for him. Joe Biden voted for him. John Kerry voted for him. Hillary Clinton voted for him. Patrick Leahy voted for him. Dianne Feinstein voted for him. Patty Murray voted for him. Ron Wyden voted for him. Richard Dick Durbin, Tricky Dick Durbin voted for him. Jack Reed, Chuck Schumer, Bill Nelson, Tom Carper, Debbie Stabenow, Maria Canwell, and Bob Menendez all voted for him. They voted for him. So why wouldn't they vote for him now? Well, we're dealing with a different Democrat Party than just just the 109th Congress. You're just dealing with a different group of people, and they've gone further left. You know? I know 2-year-olds that act more mature than a Democrat. I think people are going to see this. I really hope and pray, God willing, people that normally hadn't seen this will now see what the left is all about. It's not pro-American, it's anti-American. They can give a rat's butt about the border, the Constitution, marriage, God, family. They don't care about any of that. They really don't. All right, let me take a phone call, Brandon. I do want to get to Joe Biden dealing with the Supreme Court nominee. I got to get to that, but let me take Jack and Salford. Jack, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing fine, sir.
Hey, I got a question for you. Since the Senate is slowing down all these nominees that Trump is proposing, would it be possible for Trump just to put the nominee, for example, the Attorney General? Could he just take Sessions and assign Sessions as a deputy in the Attorney General's office, answerable only to Trump in the same way he would be as the Attorney General until the Senate decides to approve him?
Can't answer the question. Don't know. I mean, they got a lot of power to do what they need to do. There's already somebody running the Attorney General that's saying, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, I'll do what you need done, as long as it's in the law. The one that was there was Obama's appointee. Obama's people and the Democrats don't care about laws. Only time they care about laws is when they can use them against the people in the United States of America. I don't know if he can, but listen, all the appointees are going to be approved. They just want to be approved.
They're going to be approved, but all they're doing is wasting time right now. Like, for example, we wouldn't have had this whole situation with the last lady that was fired from the Attorney General's office if Trump would have simply put someone there that saw his same way of thinking. Like, the people that are there right now, they're not appointed by the Senate. They're just hires. They're hired on.
I know, but
why couldn't Trump have to hire on in that place? And for every spot right now that he's looking to get affirmed through the Senate.
I don't know the legalities of that. I just don't know what what power they have over doing stuff like that. When you think about Attorney General, you appoint the Attorney General. Yes, it's under the Trump administration. But a lot of these, you still have to be, and Bill Clinton said it best, we're a nation of laws. You still have laws and things you have to do that even the president can't touch. So I don't know how that works. I really don't. I wish I could help you, but I can't. I know what you're saying, but I really don't know if you can really do what you're saying.
Yeah. It would just be a deputy in the office. It wouldn't be the actual Attorney General, just a deputy, just someone who works there.
Yeah. And I see your point. I'll see your point. I don't know how that would work personally, but, I like the idea of it. But you got to remember, we're still going to have 3 branches of government. We're still going to have laws. They've got laws and stuff that oversee all that stuff set by Congress. And that's why I can't answer it. I just don't know at this point. But anyway, thanks for the call, Jack. All right, Joe Biden. Now, remember, the Supreme Court, they keep bringing back up that Obama didn't get his Supreme Court. This is a stolen seat. Let's go back. Joe Biden and George H. Bush, his last year with Supreme Court. Listen.
As a result, it is my view that if a Supreme Court justice resigns tomorrow or within the next several weeks, or resigns at the end of the summer, President Bush should consider following the practice of a majority of his predecessors and not name a nominee until after the November election is completed. The Senate, too, Mr. President, must consider how it would respond to a Supreme Court vacancy that would occur in the full throes of an election year. It is my view that if the President goes the way of Presidents Fillmore and Johnson and presses an election year nomination, the Senate Judiciary Committee should seriously consider not scheduling confirmation hearings on the nomination until after the political campaign season is over. And I sadly predict, Mr. President, that this is going to be one of the bitterest, dirtiest presidential campaigns we will have seen in modern times. I'm sure, Mr. President, after having uttered these words, some will criticize such a decision and say there was nothing more than an attempt to save a seat on the court in hopes that a Democrat will be permitted to fill it. But that would not be our intention, Mr. President, if that were the course we were to choose as a Senate, to not consider holding hearings until after the election. Instead, it would be our pragmatic conclusion that once the political season is underway, and it is, action on a Supreme Court nomination must be put off until after the election campaign is over. That is what is fair to the nominee and essential to the process. Otherwise, it seems to me, Mr. President, we will be in deep trouble.
All right. And that's what the Republicans did, and they stole the seat, doing exactly what Joe Biden said to do, and look what they get now. Hell for it. We'll take a break. Be right back. Hey, hello, welcome to the Griffon Show. I got the best listeners in the world. What am I laughing at? Somebody just wrote, a guy out of Baton Rouge writes, when a crime is committed or when an arrest is made, the news media reports to us the sex and the race of the suspect arrestee. He said they should also include the suspect's political party affiliation. Said, I'm willing to bet that an overwhelming majority of them would be Democrats. I can't. You can't laugh at that. You can't laugh at anything. I want to put a poll on my Facebook. Huh?
A poll?
Is there any way to poll on? Look, I'm not a Facebook guy. Is there any way to put a poll like this?
Facebook girl.
Okay. I'm just saying a poll. The question is, should they put political parties of people after they commit crimes? Gee whiz. Oh, I don't know. I think that's funny. That's not. You can't beat that. That's pretty good. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. They'll quit really arresting people then, and everything will be a break for them. By the way, two things. You just heard Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was when George H. Bush was running against Clinton. They thought that there would be another Supreme Court opening. And that was Joe Biden who went to the floor of the Senate. He was a senator. I don't know if y'all know Crazy Joe was a senator too. But Joe Biden goes to the Senate and basically hammering Bush in case they thought, I forget who they thought was leaving. But they said, look, this is election year. Basically, the same thing we heard last year was let the electors tell us who the Supreme Court nominee is going to be. Okay? And if Hillary had won, some little leftist lowlife was going to be the Supreme Court justice. And so here's Joe Biden. I'm just showing you hypocrites. I'm showing you hypocrisy. I'm showing you, I think, reasonable people who may not believe exactly like me, which is, I think I'm very reasonable, but they're not going to believe exactly like me, and that's fine. They may even vote more Democrat than they vote Republican. But I got to believe as they sit back and watch the senators on the Democrat side don't show up for a committee vote. Don't show up in protest. So they don't do their job. They're getting paid to vote. They don't. I got to believe they're going to start seeing stuff like this. So Joe Biden is talking about the Supreme Court justice. President Bush shouldn't do that. Let the voters decide. Let the next president decide.
It's a 92, by the way.
92?
Going from President George H.W. Bush to
Bill
Clinton.
That's right. So what happens, though, Brandon, last year we had the same scenario. Obama put somebody up. I think it was later in the year, too.
Well, and this one was in June. This was in June of 92 whenever he was speaking.
Okay, but I think Obama put the guy up later than that. I don't remember. You may can look up.
I think he did earlier than that, if I'm not
mistaken. It doesn't matter. He put him up during an election year, and the point was it was an election year. So last year, the Democrats under Barack Insane Obama puts up a moderate, and the Republicans sit on it and say, we'll let the election determine who's going to pick the Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, not that
pretty much, Brandon, like Joe Biden said, let's do it.
Not that it makes a big thing of difference, but it was mid-March when President Obama put Merrick Garland.
A few months earlier.
Yes.
But the point being is, he said, if you listen to Biden, during an election year, during a presidential election year. So they didn't move on it. Exactly what Biden said, because Biden was in the Democrat side, and you had President Bush, who was a Republican. So Bush, did Bush even make a nomination? No. There's nobody up, so it didn't matter. But basically what they were saying was let the electors decide. So the election is over. Trump won. Now all of a sudden, the press, who's the Democrat Party, the press, what's the difference? Nothing. They're all talking about the stolen Supreme Court. And the honor thing was to go and approve the guy. According to Joe Biden, the honor thing to do was what you saw done. They just waited until who won the election. They're going to put the guy up. The flip side, too, on this, the guy they putting up, a lot of these Democrats voted for him already in appeals court, appellate court, however you want to call it. They already voted for him. They voted for him with no problem. I think he got a unanimous victory.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy goes in there and is going to see people. 9 names, a worthless piece of poop. I mean, come on. That's the hypocrisy that I'm praying and hoping that people are going to see. Now, here's another thing. What if it would have been a Democrat president and the Democrats owned the Senate that year? What do you think the Democrats would have done? The Democrats would have shoved that Supreme Court nominee down our throat and never batted an eye. Because that's what we're dealing with. You're not dealing with people that are fair. You're not dealing with people that are honest. That has nothing to do with this. You're dealing with people that are 100% political. By the way, I love what Trump's doing to CNN, calling it fake news. I think CNN from now on ought to be called fake news. And that's what everybody ought to call it, fake news. And he didn't have to deal with it. There's plenty of news organizations to get a message out. There's plenty of news organizations that's going to be ugly. I hope he continues to call them fake news. Because they are fake news. That's what they should be called. And by the way, they'll be called fake news from here. Anytime we mention fake news, it's going to be CNN. I think it's great. He does not have to turn to them at all. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Jack in Shreveport. How you doing, Jack?
Hey, man, what's going on, buddy?
Man, hard work and dedication.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate you. Also you talk about, Trump won. He gets to select his Supreme Court justice. The other thing is, when you talk about the selectors, you could have senators selecting a Supreme Court justice in October that aren't there in November.
What you mean? They're not there in November?
They got beat.
Yeah. Oh, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. You could have.
And so, yeah, I mean, you could have had, especially if you had a major turnover. If you had a Democratic Senate and then a month later you've got a Republican Senate and a Republican president, and now they're saddled with this deal. I think it's great that you don't change Supreme Court justice. I think that you should sit on it until the incoming administration, the incoming Senate and House has a chance to, do their due diligence.
Well, that's pretty much how it's always been. The left and the press is making it sound like they stole this pick. They should have gave Barack Obama another pick when it was sad that he got any. Anything else? All right, I think we lost him, Brandon. Let's move on. Let's go to Lake Charles. Go to Paul. Paul, welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Moon. Good day.
Yes, sir.
We agree that there is no more Democratic Party like the past. This is the Communist Party nowadays, right?
I don't know if I go as far as communist, but this is not a pro-United States of America party anymore. That's for dang sure. Because they're breaking down every cultural barrier that's known to mankind.
I'll go as far as saying to me it's a Communist Party. Is that they stand for what communists stand for. They want to control your life, control every aspect of what you do. It's just ridiculous. But my point is, we don't have a media unless you count Fox and Fox Business Channel as far as on the national scene. We don't have a media that's fair. We don't have a media that's just covering the story. No, we do not have much of that at all. Maybe you could. I think we should adopt calling them a Politburo. We've talked about this before. Because all they are is propaganda. Yeah. All they do is pump out propaganda. So we might as well just call it the Politburo. They're definitely propaganda and like CNN, a lot of fake news going on. CNN's fake news to me. It just is. I mean, it's just they put out. They don't mind. A lot of these news organizations don't mind putting out anything as long as it's against you and me and true American citizens. They'll just bomb you, man. Well, I mean, as far as all this stuff going on at Berkeley and all these other places where these protesters rise up, and it seems like the cops ain't doing nothing about it, maybe they feel like me. Let them burn their own stuff down. Yeah, but I don't want to rebuild it with taxpayer dollars. You burn it down. Exactly. They ought to arrest them and get them to pay for it. Let them burn it down, and then they figure out how to rebuild it again. Yeah. Don't go to the federal government or anybody else to help rebuild something you burned down that you should have burned down in the first place. This is a new time. This is a new era, and I don't think they're going to be able to adapt to the Trump era. Yeah. I really don't. No. I'm loving everything I'm seeing, though. Yep. All right, brother. Appreciate the call. Got to run. Quick break. Joe on the road. You up next? 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. Al Sharpton slamming on social media. Al called Jesus a refugee. Hell, Jesse Jackson called him an illegitimate child, having a baby from a single mom. These guys are sick, but they are who they are, and they're leftists. We'll take a. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has it hotline. I'm laughing. Somebody sent to me, instead of CNN News, it ought to be the FNN News, Fake News Network. Some creative people out there. All right, let's go to Joe on the road who's been waiting. Joe, welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. Thank you for having me, Moon. Yes, sir. Who I got to talk to get you on another hour or two a day? To get who? Get you on the radio another hour or two a day. I don't think there's anybody would accept that. Maybe get you a raise, help you with the medical premiums. Well, if it'd do, look, I'd be glad to put the extra hour in, but I don't think I was offered. I will tell you this. I was offered from 1 to 4. 1 to 4 a.m. I was offered 1 to 4, but I didn't take it yet.
I hear you. Well, I wanted to ask you, did you read that article I was reading about that came out of the AMP there about Trump threatening the Mexican government about sending troops down there, the fake news? And
I did read that, but I didn't see what Trump really said that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, the Los Angeles Times came out and said it was fake news, that it wasn't. And actually, the Mexican government put out a report saying that it was a total lie.
I hadn't seen any truth to that at all. Matter of fact, Brian, didn't you just play that the Mexican president on Mexico was supposed to say that was not true?
Yeah,
Trump never said that.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, what happened was the AP, the Associated Press, reported that Trump warned the Mexican president that if Mexico didn't take care of the bad hombres south of the border, he might take action on his own. But that's not actually there. There's a lot that's come out that have differed with that. The Mexican government is different with that. The White House is different from that. And they basically say that the AP report, it relied on just one source, and it was hedged with denials from Mexican officials. So basically the AP went with something that wasn't apparently substantiated, and everyone else has come out and said, no, that this is not, it's not true.
Hey, you got to be careful. You got people just wanting to. They don't care if Trump told the truth. If they can tell a lie and make it stick, that's all they care about. And it's a shame. And I'd be hesitant to read or believe anything they said about Trump said. And then or it's what Trump said. Now they can say what they want about Trump because they're doing that anyway. But if they say Trump said, I'm always leery now.
They got one where they quoted in the AP report. It quoted Trump as saying, you aren't doing enough to stop them. I think your military is scared. Our military isn't. So I just might send them down to take care of it. If this is as true, if this is as fake as it's been debunked so far, man, talk about a hit to your credibility. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is Jorge Ramos, who's been the one that's been at odds with Trump for a while with Univision. He tweeted out, President Trump threatens to send U.S. troops to Mexico to take care of bad hombres, but Mexico says it's not true. So you can kind of see his angle in the way he's putting it on.
No doubt. All right. Anything else, Joe?
No, appreciate it. Keep up the good job.
All right. God bless. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate the call. It's interesting, Brandon. And we had Obama for 8 years. They protected him. Never lied about him. Never told the truth about him either. Just protected him. 8 years of hell. Never one thing. Unbelievable. All right. Let's go to Jane in Palmetto. How you doing, Jane?
Hi, hope you have a good day, Moon, and thank you for taking my call.
Jane, I'm gonna have a good day. I hope you have a good one too. My day's been great so far, so I'm headed in the right direction.
Well, I would just like to talk about we are a country of freedom, but I don't have the freedom to go tear up nobody else's property. All of this riding what they're doing, and I just think if these people think they don't have to show respect for other people's stuff, and they have power, why don't they draft them in the army and send them to Iraq and see how much power they got?
You know, it's a shame.
Bad they are over there.
They do this because they protest in a speaker. All right, you want to protest a speaker, demonstrate and protest, but it's called having peaceful protests, not riots. Number two, you are correct by everything you said, but if somebody's paying some of these people to do this, and you read this and say, well, some of these people weren't even at Berkeley's college. That's fine. Then they need to be arrested immediately by the police. Then we need to question them. I'm not saying go water torture yet, but question them. And then find out who paid them if they were paid. And then we go to the source. Just like when they catch drug dealers. They catch them, they arrest them. But you know what they're looking for? They're looking for the punk that's putting the dope on the streets. They're looking for the big kingpins that are running the dope. In this case, if it's Soros or whoever, find out who put the money on the street, because it's against the law. It's against the law. You cannot holler, fire in a movie theater or anywhere else for that matter that starts a riot. It's against the law. You can get in big time trouble for it. Well, how are these people getting away with this?
I have no idea. I know they never fought for our country and everything. You know, I have been very upset in 8 years with Obama. I didn't go tear up anybody's property. I didn't lead any rioting. And we have rights, too. Does it ever occur to them that they are wrong in how they think?
No, they're not going to have a fight for us. These people are not going to ever fight for us because they're too busy fighting against us.
So my mind just cannot comprehend how these people think.
Yeah, I can't either.
You have a good day.
Thank you, darling. I feel the same. I don't know how these people think. I don't know how they live. When do you have time to go ride? Any of them having a real job? Or just a check from the government? We'll take a break. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. All righty. Hi, y'all all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. Don't forget my good friends at Acadian Total Security. Look, you buy a new house like we did, and I think of security. Everybody wants their homes secured. Now, I'm really dealing with people in the greater Lafayette and greater Houma area, but Acadian Total Security is who we went with. Boy, am I glad we did. We are so happy with the service we got on the front side and the service we're getting now as they monitor our home on a daily basis, folks. I mean, it's so different now. If you bought a security system 10 and 20 years ago, you're missing out. You need to upgrade and give Acadian Total Security the call. Go online at AcadianTotalSecurity.com. They are good friends, Acadian Ambulance Service. You see them all around. It's the same folks driving to protect you like they do in the ambulance service, and they've done it. These people know what they're doing. The technology now for a business or your home, no matter how big or small, is phenomenal. The videos, the cameras, the motion things that they put in on your home, and then you can use your iPhone and go, let me check my house. You could be in Florida. You could be at the beach. You could be whatever. Checking it out and making sure everything's secure. Tell you what, folks, you owe it to yourself to get in touch with Acadian Total Security. AcadianTotalSecurity.com. And I think I got a number right here. Let me see, folks. Here it is, 855-222-3426, 855-222-3426. I went with these guys, and boy, am I glad I did. Because I know Acadian Ambulance Service. Now I know Acadian Total Security. Hey, you can too. You're not going to believe what they have now in Total Security at Acadian Total Security. All right, let's go to Scott in Shreveport. Scott, how you doing?
I'm great, Moon. I wanted to talk about, everybody wonders why did George Soros donate $1 million to 112 district attorney races in the United States? And this happened not last year, but the year before, so they could get the district attorneys in place so that whenever the riots happen and a Republican police officer arrests a Democrat, yeah, he's arrested. He's got to bail out. But 6 months down the line, the George Soros district attorney dismisses the case.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The same thing happened here in Caddo Parish just last year. Channel 3 News did a special on it. How many cases were dismissed by the new district attorney?
Yeah.
And the district attorney refused to speak about it.
But district attorneys are powerful people in every market. And I get a little frustrated with them sometimes because there's some people to go after that are political, and they don't. They kind of look the other way depending on what political status they are. Now, that's not all of them, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just telling you what happens, and it always concerns me what happens with that. But, district attorneys are elected by the people, and I go back to that. If the district attorneys, you're going to apply too, you're saying Soros got involved, but they are elected by the people. They do have to come up with re-election. So if you got a district attorney you really like, you keep him. If you don't, then, that's a battle.
But the George Soros funds goes to the propaganda TV commercials where you'll watch a commercial about a person that's running for district attorney, and you'll think, well, this is a great guy. But in the truth, that district attorney is owned by George Soros. And that guy really did give $1 million to the district attorney just weeks before the election.
Yeah, I know. I read about it. We had people calling. There was some information out there about that. They were also trying to influence the Secretary of State races, which deal with elections, because they really would like to take the elections and put them under some big federal deal, and they all do it all, and that'd be the worst thing that can happen in elections. So they were also really involved, and I heard and read like Soros was involved with that as well.
And in Australia, they're actually advertising anybody that wants $2,500 a month, they will fly them to the United States to riot.
Unbelievable.
One more thing I wanted to mention was, do you remember Jay Leno?
Yep.
Craig Kilborn?
Yep.
Those are two prime examples of good men that, didn't really agree with Obama and were fired.
Mm-hmm. They
were replaced with nighttime hosts, so that now today, when the nighttime news goes off, and you watch, the person that replaced Jay Leno, that all they do is bash Trump.
Oh yeah.
And now that's what Jay Leno did. He bashed Obama. He got fired.
Well, Jay Leno, I thought Jay Leno in his prime time was when Bill Clinton was in the White House. I can't help it. I don't watch that. I don't stay up that late. But I couldn't help but to watch it because not only Bill Clinton, you remember how George Bush won and it took 59 days and they didn't know who was going to win between Bush and Deal. Saturday Night Live was having so much fun with the co-presidency, the odd couple. They did dun-dun-dun-dun. But Jay Leno was hammering Clinton. Hammering him on stuff. So, and of course, they hammered Bush for 8 years as well. The only one that's never gotten hammered and never will is Barack Obama, and it was skin color. They were scared to death, what people might say.
By the way, Scott, I used to stay up to watch The Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn. He was hilarious, man.
That's right. He was hilarious. And he would say it, and he would get laughs, and he had a good time, and now all of a sudden he's on a game show.
Yeah, and he came from Sports Center.
Who was that now?
Craig Kilborn. He came from Sports Center, too.
I remember you talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. Appreciate the call, man.
And real quick, Moon, and I've told you this a couple times too, but
Brandon gave me some advice, and I took it.
Well, it ain't advice, but I get an email every morning from I can't remember what the media outlet is. They basically break down sound bites of the news from the day before, and so almost every day it's peppered full of the late night talk show hosts that are just slamming Trump the whole time. And that's all it is. Seth Meyers is one of the worst ones. Every show, all he's got to do is slam Trump. I don't watch any of the late night shows, and that's kind of one of the reasons why. I want you to think about this,
Brandon. If they do it every night, it's going to get old. It's going to get stale. People are going to be turned off. But let them do it. Let them do everything they do, and that's why I'm going back to these people. Mm-hmm. Not to the right like me or you.
Yeah.
Not to the left that don't have a clue. The guy sitting over there goes back and forth, and he's not into politics, but he watches some of them. He doesn't watch. And they go, I'm had enough of this. There's no way what they're saying can be real. Like calling Republicans racist every time, sexist, homophobe, pigs, and all. That's all they got in the playbook.
And that's the thing. It's not even just joking. It's they become serious
they're
in their
not
comedy.
Joking.
They're not joking. And you know it takes real talent is what Dana Carvey and stuff used to do, where you could imitate all the presidents. That's the kind of entertainment I want to watch, where you can make fun of a president, but you can just do it just to be funny, not to be all serious and political about it.
Well, I got roasted one time here.
Yeah, I saw that video the other day.
And that was funny. But they had good, there was one that didn't know what the hell he was doing, but the rest of them understood that was all about fun. Mike Me show. He's not a fan of me. Should be, but he's not. He was funny. Joey Durrell was funny. John Sutherland was hilarious. John Sutherland not only roasted me, he roasted everybody in the room. Governor Blanco was funny. Pretty Boy Abad almost stole the show. He was so funny. And there were some other ones. But all I'm telling you is they understood what they were there for. Comedy ought to include everybody around. I remember when they used to blast Bush sometimes, first Bush and Reagan, they'd go after Congress, too. They don't do that anymore. They make comedy reality. And that's why you got all these Hollywood stars and elitists going on TV now. They're taking this stuff serious like they're making a difference. And they're really not.
Yeah.
They're really not making
It's supposed to get your mind off of all the troubles when you watch a late show.
That's why when you watch a football game and they're showing somebody kneeling down on the national anthem, you're going, why did you put politics in my couple hours of entertainment that I just want to watch a game? And Brandon, it's a big brouhaha right now about Super Bowl and advertisement and halftime show. Is politics going to run into football because of the anti-Trump hate that's out there? Well, let's wait and see what happens, but I got to believe some of it will. I pray it won't.
People are already talking about the Budweiser immigration commercial.
Yeah.
If you've seen it.
No, I haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. You seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What is it?
Well, they're basically showing how, Anheuser-Busch or whatever, coming, from being an immigrant coming into America, not really being welcome, but being determined to, have their beer sold here and all of that.
Not being welcomed. We've opened the door. Not being welcome.
I'll play the commercial for you.
Try that policy at home. Just open your door to anybody who wants to come in and don't do it. Let's go one more call. We'll take a break. Matt Monroe, how you doing, Matt?
Hey, man. The subject y'all talking about, man, it's bigger than anything I've heard on the radio, except for maybe a Savage a couple of times, and touched on lightly, but I'm glad y'all talking about it, man. Let me ask you a question. Do you think if Jeb Bush had won, or John Kasich, any of these guys, we would be seeing all this? I personally don't.
I think being a Republican, they were going to pop him, okay? No doubt about it. And if it had been a Bush, they'd have just hammered him like they did the last one. But what they're doing to Trump is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I think it's greater. I think it's greater than even politics. You talk about Soros, and anyone who looks the guy up and see his past, he's clear. This is how he works. But it seems like during Obama's last 4 years, it's been just hell or high water to make sure that this country dissolves as fast as possible. And with Trump winning, man, they just turned it up to another level. And I don't know if they're going to turn that faucet down. The illegal immigration, you've said it so many times, and y'all just said just a second ago, man, we welcome arms to anybody who wants to come in here and do it the right way. But that's not what they've been doing the last 4 years.
Let's do it.
They've been flooding. Yeah.
Matt, let's do it this way. Everybody that's for open borders has to take at least 3 members into their house, no vetting. Put them in your house. You live with them. You have to take care of them. I wonder how many people would agree with, but that's what we're doing at the border. That's what we did under Barack Obama.
You can't just have open borders.
No. Listen. All these people.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, they got to take them in and let's see what happens here.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm with you. It's just that you can't have open. See, the idea they're making it see like we don't want any immigrants.
By the way, Brandon, thank you for the call. Brandon, you made a comment about Nancy Pelosi dealing with illegals. You saw some of that. I didn't. I want you to come back and give me the comments on what you saw.
Tough to watch.
Yeah, but just give me the comments on what you saw. Okay. Fair enough? All right. Yeah. And then I'll knock it out the fence. Over the fence. Out the park. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us. Of course, as you know, Walk-On's the official sports bar of Moon Griffon Show. It's not just a bar, folks. It's great for kids and families to go and enjoy themselves. There's screen TVs everywhere for the sporting event, travel ball teams. Go to Walk-On's. Check out the great food. You're going to love it. Official sports bar of Moon Griffon Show. All right, Brandon, I'm going to let you set this up with Nancy Pelosi at this nutted up press conference at CNN. And I never heard this yet, Brandon, so I want to hear it. So I'm going to let you set it up because this is really a slamming of Pelosi. I wish I had a picture of her face on
Well, you can come watch it if you come on this side. But at a CNN town hall today at Tuesday night, Nancy Pelosi was asked by a mother who's clearly very emotional. She lost her son to an illegal immigrant who, she pointed out, brutally tortured her son. So she asked Nancy Pelosi which one of her grandchildren she would give up to make room for an illegal immigrant.
Cities. I want to turn to Laura Wilkerson, who's a Republican from Pearl in Texas. She also has a question of border security. It's an issue that prompted her to appear in a presidential campaign ad for President Trump.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Please excuse my voice tonight. There are over 300 cities in this country that are sanctuary cities, like San Francisco. And you're not only choosing to disavow the law, but you're adding sanctuary to people who can come there and disavow the law. In 2010, one of the illegals slaughtered my son.
I'm so sorry.
He tortured him, he beat him, he tied him up like an animal, and he set him on fire. And I am not a one-story mother. This happens every day because there are no laws enforced at the border. We have to start giving American families first. This is not bad to not put Americans first. We have families that fought and died for this country. How do you reconcile in your head about allowing people to disavow the law? And the second part of my question is this. If you need to go home tonight and line up your babies, as you say, and your grandbabies, which one of them could you look in their eyes today and tell them that they're expendable? expendable for another foreign person to have a nicer life? Which one would you like to say? You, my child, are expendable for someone else to come over here and not follow the law and have a nicer life.
Well, again, I commend you for sharing your story. I can't even imagine the pain. No, I can't even imagine. There's nothing, I'm sure, that can compare to the grief that you have. And so I pray for you. I pray for you. And again, we all pray that none of us has to experience what you've experienced. So thank you for channeling your energy to help prevent something like that from happening.
But
I do
gotta
want
channel
to
your
say
energy,
to you
woman.
that in our sanctuary cities, our people are not disobeying the law. These are law-abiding citizens. It enables them to be there without being reported to ICE in case of another crime that they might bear witness to.
Will my son's killer get sanctuary in your city once he's let out of jail?
I'm sorry, dear?
Will my son's killer get sanctuary from
No,
the law
of course not.
in your city
Of
when
course
he gets
not.
out of jail?
Was your son in a sanctuary city when this happened?
Houston is. I was just outside
But
Houston.
is that where your son, was he a victim of somebody in a sanctuary city?
It was an unspoken policy at that time. It was not written, but most of the suburbs follow the big cities.
It doesn't matter. You've lost your son, and that's the important thing. But I just do think that we have to stipulate to a set of facts, and the fact is that no, your son would not get. That's not what the point is. The point is that you do not turn law enforcement officers into immigration officers. That is really what the point is in a sanctuary city. So it's not a question of giving sanctuary to someone who is guilty of a crime. They should be deported. They should be shot.
So many stories.
Or sent to jail for what they do.
So many stories.
If you can catch them in time. But thank you. I'm so sorry for your story, and thank you for your courage.
Thank you, Laura, for being here.
Right.
So many stories.
Now, Pelosi can sit there think she's so self-righteous. She's going to pray for you. Who the heck she's praying for? She's for abortion. She's for every wrong thing in this country. That's a real story. That's a real story that's happened over and over and over again. Doesn't mean it's happening with everyone. Nobody has a problem. Nobody has a problem in America with legal immigrants coming to our country. Nobody. Nobody, not Republicans and Democrats, nobody. But these illegals, this is happening. Murders, killing people. And they just want to have sanctuary cities. New Orleans is a sanctuary city. Mitch Landrieu has opened up a sanctuary city. Crime rate from hell down there. By the way, there was another deal. And let me get Carol in here real quick. Carol, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Moon. I tell you what, I wanted to call about the late night comics, but I saw that thing last night. I could not believe that she had the nerve to talk to that woman that way. The woman whose son was tortured, just a young kid tortured by.
But Carol, that's how they talk to everybody. They talk down like they're God, and they're not God. They work for you and me.
This is beyond the pale. I think she's losing it. I mean, they're losing it completely because they've lost power and they have no credibility. But that was beyond the pale, I tell you. But just to end on a lighter note, if that's possible.
Yeah.
One late night comic that I think is good. I mean, he does the politics, but he does it with a light touch. He's really funny. He's just on too late. I have to DVR the show. It's James Corden, the Late Show. It comes on around midnight, I think.
Ooh, I've been sleeping 3 hours by then, but go ahead.
I know. That's why I have to DVR it. But he's the one who does carpool karaoke. And the other night he had Billy Crystal on. And Billy Crystal, he did a thing about Trump, but it was funny and it was just very brief. And he was talking about he couldn't wait to see Trump. It was before this was a delay. This was a repeat. But anyway, the first time it was on was before the inauguration. He said, "No, the only thing I'm looking forward to is Trump up there on the inaugural stand and the wind blows up his hair."
No, but listen, nothing's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that. That's funny.
Humor is a great way to release anger, but these people are not watching that stuff. They don't want to hear that. They're angry.
Well, listen.
They don't want to, we used humor for 8 years of Barack Obama because it was the only thing we had.
Yep. But think about it, though, Carol. A speaker's coming and you protest and you riot and you burn stuff up. Somebody's got to be paying for this. And if you're paying for to protest and riots like that, you ought to go to jail. They ought to find the people. That's why you got to arrest these people. You got to bring them in and find out if they're being paid. And if you can get the information, file a suit and try to find out what's going on.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Carol. God bless. All right. Open forum Friday tomorrow. Brandon's favorite day, especially with it being payday. So we'll watch Big Brand the Handler smile all morning. Folks, God bless you. Thank you for listening to this program. Make sure you check out our advertisers. They love you, and we love you, too. See you tomorrow.